I climb down the rusted ladder into the hold of the decommissioned warship. The air is thick with the stench of decay. I wasn't miss searching for salvage, but every inch of this ship is a reminder of its past glory. The rule here is clear: no power-ups inside these hulls. Imperial protocol forbids it. Power cells are too dangerous to tamper with. After decommissioning, I reach into a compartment and pull out an old datapad. The screen flickers weakly, showing coordinates for hidden supplies, but my gloved fingers hesitate. These are in its standard markings. Someone else left a trail. The hold creaks beneath me as I push against the weight of history. A loose panel gives way under my foot, revealing a dark hole. Peering in, I see a glint of something metallic. I scoop up the object and find it arts a datapad. This one intact. The coordinates on this new pad match the old ones. Whoever left these marks knew exactly where to go. The hold is crawling with danger now. Something else, is watching my every move. And I'm not sure if that makes me safer or more exposed. What secrets lie in those hidden compartments? Decommissioned warships drift silently in the gloom of hyperspace, their secrets hidden within. A single decommissioned cruiser drifts silently in the gloom of hyperspace. I glide through the airlock into the dim echoing corridors of the Eternal Sentinel, a warship long past its glory days. The last time I saw it, it was a fortress of steel and fire. Now, only shadows linger where lights once glimmered. The protocol requires me to check for any residual power sources before venting the ship. Miss Stone. As I creep through the darkened hallways, my thermal imaging scanner flickers to life, revealing a faint hum from an unused reactor core. It's a whisper of what was, a reminder that even in death, the Empire whispers secrets. I move cautiously toward the core, but the scanner malfunctions as I near it, casting a momentary shadow over the cold metal wall. The silence is oppressive. Every creak and snap seems to echo through the void. What lies within those walls? Secrets, or just more scrap? I descend further, into the Eternal Sentinel's hold, the air thick with the scent of decay. The faint hum grows louder as I near the unused reactor core, my thermal scanner flickering ominously. The rule: in decommissioned vessels, residual power can still activate hidden systems. With a deep breath, I reach for the corehouse controls. A sudden cold wind blasts through the corridor, extinguishing nearby lights and sending shivers down my spine. The scanner fails completely, as if cut by an unseen hand, leaving me in utter darkness. A low growl echoes from the shadows, making my heart race. What secrets does this ship hold? And watching us, the unanswered danger. Could the ship itself be alive? I step into the shadowed void of the Eternal Sentinel's hold, the faint hum of an unused reactor core echoing through the rusted halls. My thermal scanner flickers and dies, leaving only the cold whisper of shadows to guide me. As I near the reactor core, the ship's ominous growl intensifies, a low rumble that seems almost alive. The air grows colder, and the lights around me dim until they are nothing but ghostly remnants. Just as I reach for the datapad clutched in my hand, the ship's growl turns into a sharp hiss, and a cold wind extinguishes the remaining flickers of light. I fumble to relight my emergency torch, its feeble glow barely piercing the darkness. The silence that follows is pregnant with danger, the kind that makes every breath feel like an eternity. The coordinates on my second datapad pulse with urgent warnings, urging me to act quickly. What secrets does the Eternal Sentinel hold? And how? Or what were you watching? I descend further into the Eternal Sentinel's hold, my boots echoing in the vast silence. The thermal scanner flickers violently as I near the reactor core, its readings dancing wildly. In old warships, residual power can activate dormant systems unpredictably. The cold wind picks up, extinguishing the few remaining lights. Shadows dance along the walls, and a low growl reverberates through the corridors. My datapads clutch tightly. I feel an icy grip on my heart. The thermal scanner now shows multiple heat signatures, not just one. The ship's growl intensifies, and I can sense something is very wrong. What? Shadows seem to move of their own accord, whispering tales of ancient battles, long forgotten. What secrets does the eternal sentinel hold? And Ho'orawata, Weta awakening within its rusted walls. Cold light from the reactor core's flickering glow barely illuminates the hold. I feel Aria's presence nearby, our shared unease palpable. The thermal scanner crackles to life, showing a strange heat signature near the reactor core. "We're under not alone," she whispers. A sudden distant growl rumbles through the ship, making my heart race. The air grows colder, and the shadows seem to deepen. "Arias," voice cuts through the silence. "I know better secure our path." We move cautiously towards the core, each step echoing in the vastness of the hold. As we draw closer, the heat signature intensifies. I cannot shake the feeling that something is watching us. Aria reaches for a nearby console, her fingers trembling as she types in commands. The screen flickers to life, displaying encrypted data. Data. Eton's a trap, she murmurs, her voice tense. Suddenly, the ship's emergency alarms blare, and red lights flash around us. Aria's alerts. Reactor core shows unauthorized access attempt. Security system engaged. We turn as a series of doors slam shut, sealing off the corridor behind us. The growl intensifies, and a cold wind picks up, extinguishing our light sources. Shadows dance along the walls, and the ship's ominous groans deepen. I stay close. Aria hisses, her breath visible in the suddenly dark hole. We huddle near the core as the ship's systems come alive around us. What secrets does this ancient warship hold? And what is it hiding? In the shadows, the growl grows louder, and a faint light begins to pulse from within the reactor core. Cold light from the reactor core barely illuminates the hold as Aria and I move cautiously towards the strange heat signature. I scan the flickering readouts, realizing the ship's systems are rebooting. The growl of machinery intensifies like a beast waking from slumber. A deep rumble shakes the deck, and the lights flicker wildly. Suddenly, the hold fills with a high-pitched whine as the airlock behind us seals shut, trapping us inside. "Did you hear that?" Aria's voice cuts through the noise. "It's the decommissioning protocol," I whisper back. Eton's designed to destroy everything on board. The ship groans and shadows dance across the walls. The whine intensifies, growing into a deafening roar. What if this is more than just protocol? No, it. Aria's eyes widen as she peers into the darkened corners. I swallow hard, my heart pounding. I sit down, or stir it. Then we need to find Otaran, and fast. The hold stretches endlessly, like a tunnel of forgotten dreams, its walls littered with rusted tools and abandoned equipment. Aria's breath hisses softly in the recycled air as she fumbles for the next light switch. The growl grows louder, more insistent. Suddenly, the ship's intercom crackles to life. "Attention all crew. Decommissioning protocol engaged. Warning. All personnel must evacuate immediately." The automated voice echoes with a hollow authority that sends shivers down my spine. Aria reaches out and grabs my arm, her grip firm and urgent. We need to find out what a chance activating this, she whispers, her eyes narrowing as the noise intensifies. We rush towards the source of the heat signature, dodging around flickering lights and the occasional clanking of machinery coming alive. The intercom cuts in again, its voice more urgent now. All personnel must comply with protocol. Failure to do so will result in irreversible decommissioning procedures. We push through a series of doors that once led to storage bays, finding ourselves in the heart of what used to be a bustling maintenance area. The air is thick with the scent of old lubricants and metal, and the noise grows to a deafening roar. Aria stops abruptly, her hand on a large control panel. "This is it," she says, her voice low. She reaches for a lever, marked emergency, override. With a deep breath, I watch as she flips it. The growl diminishes slightly, but the intercom's voice continues to blare. Failure to comply with protocol will result in irreversible decommissioning procedures. A warning light flashes red on the control panel. What now? I ask, my heart's pounding. Aria steps closer to the control panel, her fingers hovering over a series of switches. We need to disable these protocols, but we might not have much time. Much time. The ship's systems are about to complete their decommissioning sequence. What can we do to stop it? What can we do to stop it? Cold light from the reactor core barely illuminates the hold as Aria, and I move cautiously towards the strange heat signature. Suddenly, emergency alarms blare, sealing off the corridor behind us. The ship's systems come alive with a low growl, activating the decommissioning protocol. Shadows dance around us as the airlock seals, trapping them inside. A large control panel with a lever marked emergency over it stands as our key to survival. Aria pulls out a small tool from her pack and begins fumbling with the controls. "We need to override this," she says urgently, her voice barely audible over the whirring machinery. The ship's systems are coming online, faster than we can react. The growl intensifies, and I feel the pressure in my ears as the decompression valves start to engage. "Aria, you're going to need help," I shout, grabbing the nearby lever. Together we manage to pull on the emergency overridden lever, but it's stuck. The ship's systems are locking down faster than expected. Aria curses under her breath and pulls out a small device from her belt, pressing it against the panel in an attempt to bypass the override mechanism. The airlock hisses as the pressure drops, and the growl of the decommissioning protocol becomes deafening. "That's shadow. What?" We have only minutes before the ship's systems complete their shutdown sequence. Aria's device emits a blinding light, but still, nothing overrides the protocols. The hold grows colder, and I can feel my breath misting in the air. Aria's fingers are trembling as she works on the override. "I need to get to the core," she says, her voice strained. "There's something down there we can use." With no time to lose, we dash towards the core room, dodging falling debris and the increasing chill of the decompression. The core is locked, and the door will not budge. "Damn it!" Aria exclaims, pushing against the door with all her might. The ship's systems finally complete their shutdown sequence, and the hold goes dark. Shadows loom around us as if they're ultra alive, waiting to pounce. We are trapped in a silent, suffocating void. What secrets does the core hold, and can we unlock them before it's too late? Cold light from the reactor core barely illuminates the hold as Aria and I move cautiously towards the strange heat signature. Suddenly, emergency alarms blare, sealing off the corridor behind us. We reach the large control panel with a lever marked "Day Emergency Override." Aria's desperate attempts to pull it are in vain. Nothing happens. The ship groans, and debris begins to fall from above. The decommissioning protocol activates, and red lights flash ominously around us. We have only minutes before the ship fully decompresses. Shadows dance menacingly as the airlock seals, trapping Aria inside with me. Aria's voice cracks in urgency. We need to find the override manually. I peer into the darkness, spotting a small lever on the side of the reactor core. There, that must be it. I grab the lever and pull. It clicks, but nothing happens. The ship's systems continue their deadly countdown. Aria rushes towards me, panic etched on her face. Itan's not working. She yells over the noise. We need to disable the core itself. I feel a cold grip of fear as I realize we have no choice but to enter the reactor core. The air grows thin and heavy, making every breath labored. Together, we step into the heart of the reactor, dodging falling pieces of metal. The air is thick with the acrid smell of burning. Aria's hand tightens on mine as she fumbles for a way to shut down the core from within. The countdown reaches 0. Red lights pulse ominously. We are moments away from being crushed or suffocated, but the lever still won't budge. Aria's voice shatters the silence. What is this place hiding? Cold light from the reactor core barely illuminates the hold as Aria, and I move cautiously towards the strange heat signature. Suddenly, emergency alarms blare, sealing off the corridor behind us. The growl intensifies as the ship's systems come alive, activating a decommissioning protocol that requires immediate attention to override. Shadows dance around us as the airlock seals, trapping us inside. Aria and I rush towards the reactor core amidst falling debris, with only minutes left before the ship fully decompresses. The large control panel marked emergency overread stands as our key to survival, but it doesn't budge despite my desperate efforts. Aria watches the shadows dance menacingly and wonders aloud, what is this place hiding? I reach out and feel the cold metal of the override lever, only for my fingers to slide off far. It turns jam. Aria's finger snaps as she pulls again, and she yelps in pain. The ship's systems shift into a countdown sequence, and I realize with dread that we have just seconds before the reactor core breaches. The shadows deepen as the air becomes colder, pressing in on us like an unyielding force. Aria stands frozen, her hand bleeding slightly from the failed attempt to override the lever. "What are you doing?" she whispers, eyes wide with fear. I grab a nearby tool and force it into the lock, but it turns too late. Shudders run through the ship as the core begins its final countdown. The floor trembles under our feet, and I know we must act now or face certain death. The door to the reactor core slides open, just in time for us to step inside, but the shadows seem to shift and lengthen as if their ardor are watching us. What do these ancient secrets hold that threaten not only the ship but everything around it? I grip the hatch handle, sweat dripping down my arm. I pull the lever with all my strength. The hatch clicks into place, locking out the vacuum of space. Aria and I race toward the reactor core, as time feels like a countdown to disaster. The emergency override panel stubbornly refuses to budge. Pain flares as Aria's boot slips on the slick floor. She yelps, but we can't stop now. We stumble into the reactor room, the countdown hissing in our ears. I wrench open a panel, revealing the control interface. Override sequence. I murmur, fingers trembling over the buttons. Aria pulls me back as a sudden flash of light blinds us. The reactor core is failing, and there's no time to escape. We're underlocked here with an ancient enemy. The phantoms, spectral beings drawn by the ship's dying energy. Stay close, I grit out, pushing Aria towards the nearest exit. We hear a faint whispering, like the wind in the corridors, growing louder. Why? Did you stop me? It hisses. As we retreat deeper into the ship, the phantoms begin to materialize. their ethereal forms flickering, closer with each passing moment. Will our lives be ripped apart by these ancient spirits? Yara's hand hovers over the emergency override button, fingers trembling. Jax grits his teeth behind her mask. No, we're trying to landing her. The Phantom's whispers grow louder, their presence a tangible threat. Override it, Yara demands, voice desperate. Jax shakes his head, eyes fixed on the countdown. It's jammed, he mutters through clenched teeth. We need to buy time. The phantoms close in, shadows dancing around us like an ominous dance. Yara grabs Jax by the arm and pulls him towards the escape pods. Go! I'll handle this, she shouts over the hiss of the countdown. Jax hesitates, then gives a curt nod. Be careful, he whispers, before sprinting to the nearest pod. I'll kill you. Yara turns back to face the phantoms as they materialize fully, their forms flickering ominously. Her hand goes to her holster, only to find it empty out. Jax had taken her blaster upon entering the ship. Panic surges through her, yet she keeps a stoic front. Wow. Leave me, Yara hisses at the phantoms, trying to sound fierce despite the fear gripping her throat. I am not your prey. Mention step and crown. Manitam Rachel, no no, Monsieur, Apchisanakajan, Lingmore bit priced out. One phantom advances, its form elongating and stretching towards her. She plants her feet firmly and pulls out a small utility knife, throwing it with deadly accuracy straight into the creature's heart. The cut is shallow, but enough to distract them momentarily. Yara uses this chance to press her palm against the override panel, fingers splayed. The screen lights up, showing no response. She pushes harder, fingers slipping on sweat and fear. Automatic lights. Suddenly, a loud crack echoes through the room as the phantoms begin to disintegrate, their forms dissolving into nothingness. Yara collapses onto the floor, gasping for breath, but the override panel remains stubbornly inactive. The countdown hits 0. The ship's systems shut down in a series of soft clicks and whirs, signaling the end. Yara lies still, listening to the silence that follows. Why now? She whispers, looking up at the empty room as if expecting an answer. Aria's steps echo through the dimly lit reactor room as Jax dials up the escape pod interface. Yara, you have to stop them, he says in a low whisper, his hand trembling near the pod door. Yara focuses on the inactive emergency override panel, her fingers hovering over the controls. The phantoms loom closer, their spectral forms flickering like dying embers. They're too strong, she mutters, frustration building as the countdown reaches its final seconds. With a desperate gesture, Ara presses the override button. A blinding flash of light engulfs her vision as the room shakes violently. The phantoms hesitate, their presence wavering momentarily, but then they gather strength, their forms coalescing into solid shadows. Jax's escape pod hisses open, and he clambers inside, just as the reactor core erupts in a brilliant explosion. Yara! He yells over the roar of the decompression. Wananayees! She can't move her, frozen by fear, and the desperate hope that her action might have bought them some time. The phantoms materialize fully, their forms solidifying into menacing silhouettes. Their presence is an inescapable force, a tangible reminder of the shipyard's ancient secrets. Is this what they want? Aria whispers to herself as the room fills with shadowy figures, each one stepping closer with purposeful steps, a sacrifice to appease their something. When you can well, the phantom's eyes lock onto her, and Aria feels an icy grip on her soul. What did she unleash? What new demands will they make? Era's fingers dance over the cold metallic surface of the emergency override panel. The hiss of the countdown echoes through the reactor room as Jax boards his escape pod, his eyes fixed on the flickering red light. The phantoms loom closer, their spectral forms coalescing in a blur of ethereal light. Yara's breath catches as she presses a final button, but nothing happens. The override panel remains stubbornly sealed. A sharp crackle of energy erupts from within the core, and the ship groans loudly. The Phantom's presence amplifies, their voices whispering ancient incantations that chill Yara to the bone. She realizes too late that the emergency override isn't just a button, it's the key to unlocking an old ritual. Jax blasts his way out of the reactor room, but he can hear the ship creak and groan, as if preparing for something beyond a normal decommissioning. The Phantom's voices grow louder, their whispers weaving through the air like a dark spell. Yara's heart pounds as she understands that they need to escape before it's too late. The reactor core erupts in a burst of blue flame, and the ship shudders violently. Yara scrambles toward Jax, her path blocked by an ominous barrier of shimmering energy. The Phantoms materialize fully, their forms solidifying with each step they take closer. "Take cover!" Jax shouts, but his voice is drowned out by the roar of the reactor and the relentless advance of the spectral beings. Yara stumbles against the barrier, her hands reaching out desperately for a way through. The Phantom's voices blend into an inhuman chorus, their intent clear: to claim the ship and its secrets forever. What ritual do they seek that binds the ship's fate to theirs? Yara's fingers dance across the control panel, but the override stubbornly stays in place. The shadows lengthen, and the Phantoms appear, their ghostly figures drawing nearer by the second. On their second. Aria and I grab Jax's escape pod, half expecting it to open by itself. Instead, we have to pry the hatch open with a crowbar, our hearts pounding in sync. The hiss of decompression grows louder as the Phantoms close the gap between us. Yara's eyes narrow, focusing on the override panel. "We need to activate this," she says urgently. "Ocean Rao, tried in Mela Oston, nice out, but I can't get it to work." "Nice in Minera, Mine Carancho, no Dutch, and don't start, I'll tell you the dark." The Phantom's voices echo around them, a chilling chorus that seems to come from everywhere at once. Activate, or face, eternal darkness. Jax shoves the hatch open with a final desperate push and climbs inside, slamming the door shut behind him just as the Phantoms are upon us. Aria turns back to Yara, who is still struggling with the override panel. A faint glow begins to pulse from within the ship, signaling that self-destruction is imminent. "There's something wrong with this," she whispers, her voice barely audible over the hiss of decompression. "Yara, it might be our only chance." "No, next to can you stop it? No, obtain now what I say, no deal. You will read it, like that, the unrace, pain, in the stays." But as Aria reaches for the emergency override switch, a sharp crack echoes through the room, and the ship's lights flicker ominously. The Phantom's presence intensifies, their voices growing louder. Yara's face contorts in frustration and fear. "Right, Neo, what is going on?" she asks, her voice nearly a scream. Aria stands there, uncertainty gnawing at her. "Well, we don't have time to figure it out," she says. "Just do it. Do it." With a final desperate attempt, Yara's hand moves to the override switch. The ship shudders as the self-destruct sequence is activated, but the panel still refuses to comply. The Phantoms surge forward, their spectral forms barely contained by the faint barrier of light. Aria's grip tightens on her blaster. "Why do you hear me? I can't do this alone," she says, her voice a mix of resolve and desperation. "We need to find another way." "Our sterile. Wantatron. Then what ancient ritual did the Phantoms come to claim?" "I don't know." Yara fumbles with the override panel, her knuckles white as the Phantom's engines grow louder. Come on," she mutters under her breath. The self-destruct sequence is just 2 steps away, but the protocol bites hard. Activation requires confirmation from both parties. Aria stands ready at the other end of the deck, her blaster aimed at the control room door. "Yara." Heart races as the Phantoms breach the hull. "No, Lydyn Royster cyn arch de Cancelgo. Mention of Cyclone, that an asimutrinec extracted the da. Their presence is a tangible threat, their dark forms closing in like shadows. She can feel the weight of their eyes on her, sensing her fear. Initiate self-destruct, Aria demands, voice steady despite the urgency. The protocol insists, both parties must confirm. Era's fingers hover over the final button, but the phantoms are almost here. Panic threatens to overwhelm her, but she forces herself to focus. I confirm, Yara says, pressing the button with a trembling hand. The screen flashes green, and the countdown begins. But before it even hits 0, Ariad's face contorts in horror as the ship's intercom crackles to life. Activation sequence interrupted by unknown entity. The voice warns, eerily calm. Prepare for unexpected outcome. Unexpected outcome. The phantoms surge forward, and Yara knows they have a new target, the unknown entity that just halted their mission. What ancient force is this, and why does it seek them out? The phantom's blaster bolts dance like shadows in the dim light of the decommissioned cruiser. I grab Aria's arm, my fingers trembling as I press the override switch. The countdown starts, 7 seconds remaining. Protocol, system-wide self-destruct, protocol initiated. But just as the timer ticks down to 0, a voice echoes through the ship speakers, a cold, malevolent laugh. The Phantom's leader, Zalor, steps forward, his helmet casting eerie shadows. Not so fast, he growls. Aria and I exchange a look of grim determination. I don't want that me, With one last pull, I activate the self-destruct. But the countdown freezes at 0. The phantoms surge towards us, their eyes glowing with an otherly light. Aria draws her blaster, but Zalor's laughter grows louder. What does this place mean to you, Aria? What do you remember from home, Yara? The ship shudders as a dark energy field engulfs the bridge, halting all systems. The phantoms' numbers grow, their forms merging into an impenetrable mass. We're trapped. Zalor's presence disrupts the ship's life support systems, depleting our oxygen supply. Zalor stands before us, his form shifting like a living shadow. You cannot escape. What do you... Aria and I stand facing each other, the seconds ticking by like a countdown to something inevitable. What do the phantoms seek here? Right here, or no, there, aren't. In the shadows of the cruiser's sickbay, Era's fingers tremble over the override panel. Aria lies nearby, her breath ragged. It is soon out. Mendon Serena can't kill. Alexu. Phantom's ships loom like dark silhouettes in the dim light. Override denied. A malevolent voice rings out, halting their countdown. The air grows thinner as Zalor's energy field intensifies around them. Yara stumbles back, clutching at her throat. What do you want? She demands, struggling to keep her voice steady. Aria groans weakly, lifting a hand to signal caution. Aren't you not? Bernard? We don't have time for this, she whispers. The phantom's ships pulse with an eerie glow, their forms shifting like shadows on the wall. Yara's gaze locks onto Aria's face, desperate. I'm the window, I've been to mention, but I'm writing that I am nature and round shape. Why cannot? We just start, because the artifact demands it. Zalor's voice booms, echoing through the sickbay. His presence is a force of darkness, seeping into every corner. Aria sputters for air as Yara focuses on the override panel once more, her heart pounding in her chest. We need to find it, she says, trying to rein in fear. You know more than to sell. Can we? Non-way. But how? The phantom's ships close further, their engines roaring like thunder. Eras, hand hovers above the final button, and he's sitting out. What ancient relic could hold such power? Yara's fingers dance over the console as alarms blare, the Phantom's ships looming closer. Yara overrides the self-destruct sequence, but Zalor's dark energy field cuts off her power. Aria, we need to find the artifacts. Aria, arms crossed with grim determination, nods. Aria nods grimly. I will take care. What bill? I will sit down. Neutralize it first. Ninchen, might have no, not crew. The sickbay lights flicker as Zalor's presence intensifies. Aria grabs Yara's hand, their breaths ragged in the thinning air. Yara and Aria race through the dim corridors, dodging debris as the Phantom's ships bombard the cruiser. We cannot hold them much longer, Aria says, her voice strained. They reach the artifacts chamber, just as Zalaros field engulfs it, causing the room to tremble. Yara and Aria work frantically to disconnect the artifact from its power source, but their efforts are in vain as the field grows stronger. Zalor's presence looms menacingly, his voice echoing through the chamber. Yoi! You cannot stop me. With a surge of energy, Zalor activates the artifact, its glow intensifying and threatening to consume them both. Yara's heart races as she realizes their only hope is to destroy it now. What ancient relic can hold such malevolent power? Yara's fingers dance over the control panel as alarms blare. Yara's heart pounds as she tweaks the override sequence, her breath coming in short gasps. Aria stands nearby, ready to engage any phantoms that breach their hull. The Phantom's ships bombard the cruiser with powerful blasts, each impact shaking the ship and drawing closer to the critical systems. Zalor's dark energy field crackles around them, his tendrils tightening their grip with each passing moment. Ayara's finger hovers over the final command to deploy the self-destruct, but a sudden cold voice echoes through the intercom. You cannot destroy it. The countdown freezes mid-digits. Aria turns, her eyes narrowing at the intrusion. Who's there? She demands, drawing her blaster. The darkness of the cruiser's interior is shattered by a figure stepping from the shadows. Tall, gaunt man with glowing red eyes, his presence exuding an aura of ancient malevolence. He intones, his voice like ice. The artifact belongs to me. Yara feels a chill run down her spine as she realizes they are not alone in this struggle. The Phantoms and Zalor may be their enemies, but now a new threat looms her, Kalos, and the ancient relic he seeks. What secrets does Kalos hold? About the artifact's true nature, Yara clenches her hand into a fist, the metallic smell of recycled droids wafting through the air. Aria steps closer to the droid, her eyes narrowing as Kalos looms over them both. Step away from my prize, he growls, his voice echoing in the hangar. Aria's fingers twitch, but Yara holds firm. Manisha, I'm not leaving without a fight, she replies coolly. Kalos raises an ancient, glowing artifact, its energy crackling with power. This relic is key to unlocking the secrets of the ancients, he declares. You cannot have it. Aria pulls out her blaster, but Yara shakes her head. Wait, she warns in a low voice. Kalos lunges, and Aria fires, but her shot bounces harmlessly off his energy field. Kalos smirks, then throws the artifact at the droidar's core, igniting it with a blinding flash of light. The droid shudders and malfunctions, its circuits shorting out. Now, we have no way to call for backup or escape this hangar. Yara watches as Aria sputters and stumbles, her face pale. We need to get out of here, Aria says urgently. And fast. Yara's eyes lock with Aria's as Kalos steps closer, his presence heavy like a storm cloud. "You can't have it," Aria growls, her hand tightening around the communicator. Kalos smiles, showing cracked teeth. "It was mine long before you found it." His gaze shifts to Ira, and she feels a shiver run down her spine. The relic hums dangerously, sparks jumping from its surface. Aria's communicator crackles weakly, static drowning out any hope of rescue. "We need to move," Aria hisses, pulling Yara towards the nearest exit. The hangar door creaks loudly as it begins to seal, a red light blinking ominously. If we cannot contact anyone, we're under trapped, Aunt Yara whispers, panic rising in her throat. Kalos lunges forward, grabbing at Ariat's arm. "Give me the artifact," he demands, his grip tight and unyielding. Yara dodges Kalos, using a nearby droid to distract him, while Aria tries to override the door seals. Sparks flies. As Aria fumbles with the controls, her breath ragged. The Relicos hum grows louder, closer to overload. Yara knows they have seconds before it goes critical. "Missionaire article." Quickly, she urges, her voice barely above a whisper. Aria finally manages to break Kelos out, hold, and pulls him towards the door as Yara throws herself behind Aria, shielding them both. The door hisses open, just in time, spitting out a burst of air that stings their eyes. They stagger outside, into the dim hangar light, Kalos right on their heels. "I will not let you get away with this," he snarls, raising his hand as if to strike. Aria and Yara exchange a look, survival instincts urging them forward. They sprint towards the shuttle bay, hoping the ancient relic does not give out before they reach safety. Will their escape be enough? Or will Kalos find another way to claim what he believes is his? Yara's boots skid on the greasy floor as she sprints towards the shuttle bay. Yara can feel the relic's hum growing louder, its power surging through her veins. "Aria, we need to move," she yells over the whine of sparking machinery. Kalos leaps ahead, his hand closing around Ariane's communicator docks. "This relic is mine," he growls, pulling it free just as a burst of static drowns out their connection. The shuttle bay doors loom closer, but Kalos's footsteps are gaining. "You can't take this back to the Empire." Aria shouts, dodging his lunge for her blaster. Yara grabs Aria's arm and drags her towards the open ramp. "We need to get out of here," she says urgently. The relic's power is making everything around them crackle with energy. They have to escape before it triggers a full overload. Kalos, enraged, launches himself at Yara. She ducks under his arm and pushes Aria towards the shuttle. "Get in!" she shouts over the noise. Aria hesitates, then scrambles inside as Kalos's fist strikes the ramp edge, sending sparks flying. The doors begin to close, but a sudden surge of energy from the relic forces them open again. Yara curses and shoves Aria towards the pilot seat, just as Kalos bursts through the gap. "Stay down," she commands, drawing her blaster. The shuttle's console flickers ominously. They need to take off now, or Aria's hands grip the controls tightly, eyes wide with fear. "Yara, we're going to crash." Yara looks up at Kalos, who is closing in fast, and then back at Aria. "You've got us," she says quietly. The shuttle lurches as its engines attempt to start, amidst the chaos. Yara's finger hovers over the self-destruct command, her heart pounding. "If they crash, take off." Kalos yells, but Itan's too late. The relic's power spikes again, and Ariane's voice crackles back to life. Engines are offline. We're going down. Yara cannot help but glance at the self-destruct button one last time before focusing on the task at hand, survival. What do we do now? What do we do now? Ara's heart pounds as she shoves Aria into the shuttle cockpit, her fingers dancing over the controls. Go! I'll handle this, she yells, turning to face Kalos. The relic thrums ominously, its power field flickering dangerously. Kalos snarls and lunges, his grip tightening on the artifact as he shouts, You can't stop me now! Aria's hands shake as she tries to override the systems, but the console is stubbornly unresponsive. The shuttle's engines whine weakly, struggling to life off the ground. Yara plants herself in front of Kalos, her eyes blazing with determination. Back off, she growls, holding up a small tool from her pack. And how? Her pack. Kelos's expression hardens as he steps closer, but Yara thrusts the tool into his chest. Use it to disable the relic or you are all dead. Aria frantically types commands, her breath coming in short gasps. The timer ticks down from 123. We need to shut off the power core, she yells, her voice barely audible over the hum of the engines. Ayara's eyes dart between Kalos and the relic as he hesitates, his hand closing around the tool. Do it now, she shouts. Kalos' fingers move too slowly. The relicar's field intensifies, sparking with an otherworldly energy. Iara darts forward, tackling him to the ground as the power core whines loudly, and then goes dark. The humming ceases, but the self-destruct timer continues its countdown. My white name. Aria's hands are slick with sweat. She hits the emergency override button just in time, but the shuttle lurches violently into motion. They rocket towards the exits. Kelos's form a blur behind them as he tries to break through. Yara grips the side of the shuttle, her knuckles white. Is it safe? Where and it's safe. Aria calls back over the whine of the engines. Yara glances at the timer. 0:57. Almost there, she grits out, pushing harder. As they clear the hangar and enter open space, the self-destruct signal blares loudly inside the shuttle. The last digits of the countdown flash on the display as they fly into the starlight. Did we make it? Aria asks, her voice barely above a whisper. Yara scans the console, her heart pounding. We made it, she replies, but the relief is short-lived. Now we just have to stay alive. Men, Testo, Manuro, and what came to Naughty. And will be there, and again and Gorpio. The shuttle jolts and Ira. Grip tightens on the controls as they enter a dangerous asteroid field, unsure if their luck will hold. Ara's fingers dance across the controls, navigating through the asteroid field with practiced ease. The relic's hum is erratic, its energy wavering like a flickering flame. Aria watches the seconds slip away on the self-destruct timer, each one stretching into infinity. Suddenly, Kalos lunges forward, his grip on the relic tightening as he tries to disrupt their escape. Yara swivels her chair towards him, but before she can react, a blinding flash of energy erupts from the relic. The shuttle lurches, and Aria's hand slips slightly on the controls. The asteroid field ahead seems to twist into impossible angles, making navigation nearly impossible. Yara grits her teeth, focusing all her concentration on stabilizing their course. We have to lose him, she yells over the noise of the engines. Aria's eyes narrow as she checks the timer. At 0:25, down to running out of time. Kalos is closing in fast, his presence a tangible threat. Yara makes a snap decision and banks hard towards a particularly large asteroid, using it to shield their position from Kalos's sight. The shuttle jolts violently as they hit the asteroid's edge, sending sparks flying across the interior. Yara's heart pounds as she stabilizes the craft, but Aria's voice cuts through her relief. Aria cannot. Keep dodging him forever, or she says, her tone grim. Kalos's determined steps grow quieter, his pursuit momentarily halted by the asteroid field as chaotic geometry, but their reprieve is short-lived. At 0:15, the self-destruct timer ticks closer to zero. Yara knows they need a new plan, one that might just save them from Kalos and the relic's fury. Yara feels a presence watching them as they maneuver through the asteroid field, not entirely human. The quiet afterlife of decommissioned warships is about to get even quieter. The shuttle's thrusters hummed loudly as Yara banked sharply around a floating chunk of metal. Kalos's ship roared behind them, its lights casting eerie shadows. A nearby asteroid cracked in half with a thunderous boom. Yara glanced at her HUD. The self-destruct timer read 0:12. "We need to find that decommissioned dreadnought," she said, her voice steady despite the urgency. "Kalos, can you maintain your position?" "Affirmative," Kalos replied, his voice calm but tense. "I'll keep us out of his sights." "Regiment, Awiden, Redshixera, Bandingman Bakinati, out there not. Upper Bay." The dreadnought loomed ahead, its hulking silhouette a testament to better days. Yara knew it was here. The strange energy readings were unmistakable. But as they drew closer, something sinister caught her eye. A faint, pulsating light emanating from one of the ship's damaged sections. Yara's heart pounded harder. "Nissen Bachantakari, New York." Kalos scanned that light. "Share, weather, or Ningabera. Oh, these steps. It could be a trap." "Concentrate, and bring me or Bradbury carrier." Kalos nodded and activated his scanner. Negative, Yara. No life signs. However, there's an anomaly in the field reading, sir. Something metallic, but irregular. With no time to hesitate, Yara pushed the shuttle forward. The dreadnought Tar's massive door opened with a groan, revealing a cavernous interior filled with debris and broken machinery. They navigated through the chaos, following the lights until they reached a partially collapsed corridor. Inside, a strange device hummed softly, its purpose unclear. Yara approached cautiously. "Kalos, this is it. Whatever activated the dreadnought Tars. Self-destruct is here." As she examined the device, a loud crack echoed through the ship. The floor beneath her feet gave way, and they tumbled into darkness. "Kalos," Yara shouted. As they fell, her voice echoing in the void. "Can you hear me?" The last thing she saw was Kalos's worried face before everything went black. Ya's shuttle shudders as she guides it through a narrow crevice, her hand steady despite the chaos. Kalos' voice crackles over the comms. "We have 30 seconds left." The shuttle groans sparks, flying from the hull. The pulsating light grows brighter, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Yara reaches for the console, fingers hovering over a series of blinking lights, representing the device they need to disable. "It turns the anomaly," she whispers, her breath visible in the cold air. A loud rumble shakes the ship as part of the floor begins to collapse. Kalos's face is a mask of concentration. "We have to act now," he shouts over the noise. Yara fumbles with the controls, her mind racing. "Nation, Mr. She activates the device. Too late. The floor gives way, swallowing half of the shuttle into darkness. Initial reckon darkness. Yara and Kalos are left hanging, their grip on the remaining metal structure slipping. "Grasp my hand," Kalos yells, his voice filled with urgency. "I only dumdreshnio, on the ancient and that corruptimcy." Yara reaches out, her fingers barely touching his. They hang there for a moment, the ship's systems flickering around them. Then, an impossible force pulls them upward, lifting them away from the collapsing floor and back into the corridor. The shuttle jolts to safety. As the floor crumbles completely behind them, Aria and Kalos collapse onto their backs, gasping for air, hands still entwined. What lies beyond this debris field? Yara clings to the wreckage, her boots slipping on the jagged metal. Kalos steadies her, his grip firm as he checks their surroundings. through the shuttle's cracked viewport. The rule of the salvage is clear. Disable anomalies at all costs. Kalos pulls out a small, ominous device that hums with energy. We can't just leave this, he says, his voice tense. Yara nods, her fingers trembling as she fumbles for the toolkit. Agreed. She inserts a wire into the device. But it does not react. The floor beneath them groans ominously, and Kalos pulls Yara closer. Time to go. Suddenly, the shuttle lights flicker. A high-pitched whine fills the air as the power system fails. They are stranded, with no means of escape. And Yara looks at Kalos, her eyes wide. And we need to find a way out before the mysterious portal blinks brighter, drawing their attention. It's barely visible through the debris, but it hangs there, pulsating like a heartbeat in the dark. What lies beyond that portal? A new threat, or a chance for escape? Yara gritted her teeth as she pulled Kalos closer. The humming portal loomed ahead, its light flickering ominously. Activation sequence, Yara muttered, her voice barely above a whisper. Now, deactivate or destroy. Kalos nodded grimly and reached for the control panel, his fingers trembling. The screen lit up with a series of complex symbols, each one representing a different function. Quick, Yara, Kalos shouted over the whirring systems. We have to disable it. When Yara hesitated, her heart racing. She knew what would happen. If they fell down, this shuttle would be torn apart by the portal's energy, but activating it might release something far worse. Kalos pressed a button, and the symbols began to change rapidly. The screen flashed red as the anomaly started to destabilize. Yara grabbed Kalos' hand tighter, their knuckles white against each other's skin. The portal burst into a blinding light, and for an instant, time seemed to stretch. Then, with a final scream of mechanical agony, the shuttle's floor gave way, sending them both plummeting through the opening. Are you all right? Kalos shouted as they fell, his voice muffled by the rush of air. Yara, she's here. Manmonetto. This Shoko, Rishtonit, Manan Vesiko, Barani Rajan, Nikvigo. He reached out desperately, but their hands separated just before impact. As the darkness closed in, Yara's last thought was not of survival, but of what lay waiting beyond that shimmering portal. Was it a gateway to another world arc, a trap designed to ensnare the unwary? Would they ever see each other again? Yara tumbles through the portal, her body twisting violently as the shuttle disintegrates behind her. She lands hard on a rocky outcropping, within a vast chamber, filled with flickering energy fields and strange bioluminescent plants. The anomaly hums louder, its power surging dangerously close to overload. Yara scrambles towards it, Kalos' face still fresh in her mind as she clings to the memory of his grip. The device is massive, a complex array of circuits and pulsating crystals, each one more alien than the last. With trembling hands, Yara reaches for the central crystal, knowing that either deactivating or activating it could trigger an unimaginable event. The power field crackles around her, almost singeing her exposed skin. She hesitates, her mind racing as she tries to remember Kalos' warning. Don't let it consume us. The crystal shifts in her grasp, and Yara feels a surge of energy coursing through her body. The anomaly begins to hum, with an even more intense light, its protective field weakening around the chamber. A low growl echoes from the shadows, resonating with the same frequency as the anomaly's pulse. Era recognizes it instantly. Something is coming, something ancient and hungry. The floor trembles violently, and she knows that activating or deactivating the crystal will decide their fate. With a deep breath, Yara makes her choice. What emerges from the shadows could change everything. Ira's fingers tremble around the crystal core as energy crackles around her. The central crystal hums with an otherworldly pulse, its surface shimmering like 1,000 stars. Shadows dance in the chamber, dim light, and the growl of unseen entities intensifies, making the air vibrate with tension. Careful not to break the delicate balance, Ira's heart races as she realizes the crystal is the key to unlocking an ancient energy field. With a deep breath, Ira presses her hand against the crystal, feeling it pulse in response. The growl turns into a roar, and from the shadows, tendrils of dark energy begin to reach out towards her. A tendril slams into an unattended equipment panel, sparking and filling Yara with cold dread. She must act fast, or face an uncontrollable escalation. Can Yara maintain control long enough to complete her mission, or will she be consumed by the ancient force? Yara's fingers tremble as they press the crystal core. The chamber hums with ancient power, shadows swirling like liquid black smoke around her. With a final calculated push, she activates the field. The energy surges through the chamber, binding the dark tendrils back into their prison. Shadows thrum with suppressed rage, and Yara feels Kalos's presence beside her, his silent support grounding her. But as the pressure eases, a new sound echoes off, almost inaudible. It begins as a whisper and grows to a low groan from the depths of the chamber. More. Kalos's voice is barely audible over the hum of machinery. Yara turns slowly, her heart pounding. What else is down here? The shadows ripple, their whispers growing louder, more urgent. There are remnants. What remnants? Yara demands, her mind racing. Kalos steps forward, his silhouette almost indistinguishable from the darkened room of what used to be this station's defense systems. They're still active, waiting for a signal. Yara steps closer to the central core, her grip tightening on its edges. And if we activate them, who knows? Kalos replies, his voice almost lost in the ambient noise. But it might end us all. The chamber lights flicker ominously as the shadows shift, their whispers growing louder. Yara's eyes narrow, a shiver running down her spine. What do you suggest we do now? Let's find out, Kalos says, his voice firm but cautious. Before they find us. Yara's fingers tremble as she holds the central crystal. Shadows ripple like living darkness, their growl echoing off cold metal walls. She focuses, her breath steady. The crystal hums to life, energy fields expanding in concentric rings. The dark tendrils retract, but a new whisper of danger creeps closer. A faint hum grows louder, like an ancient warning siren. Yara senses the ancient defenses awakening, readying themselves for something or someone unknown. Be careful, Kalos, whispers from beside her, his voice barely audible over the growling shadows. They haven't been dormant for nothing. The humming intensifies, and a low rumble shakes the chamber. That's the chamber. Yara's grip tightens on the crystal as the whisper becomes a warning. Do not leave me alone. The entity is awakening, but it's not clear if it means to aid or harm. Kalos, she calls softly, her voice steady despite the growing unease. We need to keep moving. We can't stay here. The shadows shift, closing in like hungry predators. Yara and Kalos dart towards a nearby console, their movements cautious but quick. As they reach it, the chamber lights flicker ominously. Let's see if we can override these defenses, Kalos says, his eyes scanning the interface. Yara activates the console. fingers flying over the controls. The humming grows louder, and she feels a chill run down her spine. You? What ancient secret is this entity trying to protect, and will they ever escape its reach? The siren's warning becomes a deafening scream as the chamber lights flare to life, casting long shadows across the floor. Aria and Kalos exchange a tense look, both aware of the danger lurking just beyond the fields of light. What lies hidden in the heart of this decommissioned warship? Iara's fingers tremble as she holds the crystal core, the humming of the chamber growing louder. Kalos stands nearby, his eyes narrowed at the shifting shadows. I'll round her close, he whispers. But this is not over yet. With a determined breath, Iara presses the crystal harder. The energy field activates with a blinding pulse, but the dark tendrils surge forward, wrapping around her legs and pinning her to the ground. Kalos shouts at Iara, wedding, order and her, no kisto. Move! She struggles against the encroaching darkness, fighting for control as the whispers in her mind grow louder. Oh, canal, let it consume us. So she yells back, her voice muffled by the crushing tendrils. Kalos races towards her, his lightsaber humming to life as he slices through the energy bindings. With a final push, Iara breaks free and activates a secondary field, containing the dark energy. But the entity's presence is now more pronounced, its growl echoing throughout the chamber like the pulse of a dying star. Their hearts race as they face